Cigar Club family, what is going on? Welcome to another wonderful Cigar Club podcast, specifically a 2 Daves, 2 Palates episode. I'm your host, Dave Ember, and joining me today, as he is most all of the time, Sir David Pugh.
What's going on, Dave?
Pugh, it's we've done a lot of interviews recently. We did the Purito tasting.
We did
a lot of fun podcasts, but we're getting back to the basics.
Back to our roots. Back to episode 1 themed layout.
Episode 1 themed podcast. We're going through the outline that you guys are starting to get accustomed to on 2 Daves, 2 Palates. What we're smoking, projects coming up in the works, places we've been or where we're going, and of course talking about all the pairings that are coming up in the pipeline and the different projects that we're working on to share spirits and cigars, or different beverages and cigars. They don't have to be spirits. Anyway, I'm really excited about today.
There's a lot.
There's a lot to cover. A lot of stuff that me and Pew have been smoking throughout the past week or so, that we've been texting back and forth or being on like Google Meet calls. And now we get to like take all of our notes and everything we've talked about and bring it all to you guys. So with that, welcome to the podcast. Light up a cigar, or if you're on your way from home, or if you're on your way home from work, turn up the tunes, wind the windows down, light up a cigar, and join us. It's 2 Daves, 2 Palates, and we're pumped to be here. That's the intro, Pew. And now,
nailed it.
What we're all waiting for. What are we smoking today? Start us off.
I've got one of my favorites. I think this was your favorite cigar of 2020.
It
Warped 6102R, and just a phenomenal cigar. I mean, it's hard to beat. If I don't know what I want to smoke and I just want something that's going to be great, I'll just pick it out. And I'm running low on quantity, and that concerns me.
I couldn't agree more with how I approach that cigar. It's just what you said. If I don't want to think, if I don't want to like stare at my humidor for 20 minutes, or for me, like if I'm driving into the office or like in the shower, I'm like, okay, I could smoke this today. I could try that one. No. MDT is always just like, if I want an incredible experience, transitions, big flavor, perfect construction, and I don't want to think about it, MDT.
It's incredibly reliable. Probably my favorite. Skyflower, though. I was going to say probably one of my favorite Warp cigars, but I'm a sucker for Skyflower.
Which you shared so gracious with me a couple of weeks ago that I smoked on our Zoom lounge.
So glad you got to smoke that. My last one, too.
Pew's last one. He has a heart of gold, everybody. And quick shameless plug on our Zoom lounges. Those are back. We're doing those a couple times a month with our Cigar Club family. Make sure you guys are, if you haven't heard about them, subscribe to our email list and you will know every time we have a Zoom lounge. Our whole team gets on there. A lot of times we'll get brands on there. We all get to hang out, smoke cigars, shoot the shit.
Yeah, it's just a time. Laid back, kind of that lounge atmosphere. I know a lot of us were missing that atmosphere in 2020. I know I was, and just kind of bring that to the virtual world, get to put names to faces and just talk about cigars and anything else.
Which is where we first met, technically.
Yes.
Was on a Cigar Club Zoom lounge.
May 2020.
Ago. We're coming up on our 1 year anniversary, Pew.
Yep. I smoked a HVC Cero. I remember it like yesterday.
Wow. Yep. Who was the guest on that one? Was it Matt Hunt?
I don't think there was a guest. I think it was just you.
It was just me hanging there? Sweet.
I think so, because I think that was right when the HVC exclusive came out.
Oh my God, I remember it vividly. I was at my parents' house in Orlando. Yes, and there was like 7 people.
I was at my parents' house in Atlanta, Georgia, so.
Okay, cool. Wow, we're coming up on our 1 year. We'll have to do something special for that.
For sure. But to finish off, I've decided to pair this, something I talked about on one of the podcasts. I don't remember which number, but a little bit of Toasted Barrel, kind of figuring out where this sits as far as like what works well with the Toasted Barrel. Just knowing this cigar that I'm smoking, I think it could be really well, kind of that oakiness, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of caramel. So we'll see how that goes throughout the episode.
And with Toasted Barrels that I have a love-hate relationship with, for many reasons. Sometimes I have a love-hate if I'm just drinking them and I'm like, a little too much for me. But with cigars, it's interesting because it can overpower the cigar completely, but it can also become the greatest accompaniment. So yeah, you'll have to keep us posted.
But what have you decided to smoke?
All right, I'm excited about this one. This is going to be in several boxes this month. You guys are probably going to be getting your shipping notifications while you're listening to it, or in a couple days coming after this podcast is released. But for those of you in our more mild to medium category, or sometimes if you like some variety and you've rated Connecticut's high, you're going to see this beautiful cigar right here from our good friends at the New Orleans Cigar Factory. This is the Social Club Natural, which sports an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper. It is made at their New Orleans Cigar Factory, which is something that we all kind of decided we wanted to do with the first product that we put in your boxes from them, is to make sure it was one rolled at the factory, that we had the privilege, if you will, to go experience that whole place, which is just amazing. It looks small, and then it just keeps going. And we were in their like sorting room, their aging room, where they keep their pilons of tobacco.
That was
really
incredible.
You talked so highly of this pew even before we got there, and it really lives up to the hype. It's creamy. It's got a nice pepper, kind of side of the tongue pepper that is just lasting throughout each puff. Nothing overpowering, but it's just nice to know there's some body and some spice there. And the roll, I'm trying to describe this. It's almost square, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's got this like, it's not a box press, but
not at all. Not at all.
It's got this kind of,
it's flat on the top. Is how I can describe it.
Yeah, it's certainly awesome. Yeah, that was a cigar I smoked back in 2017, 2018 when I was going out of New Orleans for a cruise. Picked it up, smoked it, walked around New Orleans, and I was afraid going into, because I had talked about it before. I remember we were on a Zoom lounge one night and you were asking, cigars to bring in. I was like, oh, New Orleans Cigar Factory is great. I had one of my most memorable cigars there. And I was really worried when we got there that it was going to be, just like you said, it was the moment that made the cigar great. But nope, the cigar itself holds up and is fantastic.
Yeah, which is something I think I say so frequently. Like, you can be so starstruck by an incredible place, an incredible story, that you want it to. The moment makes it taste so good. This still tastes amazing, and I'm several hundred miles away from it. The footnote is really toasty. Like, I'm talking bread, like that you just pulled out of the toaster oven. It's kind of charred a little bit, and it's burning incredible. And I tell you what, when you walk into that factory, and all their rollers are Dominican, and there's this lively energy, which I think is awesome. It's, to me, the difference. I don't know if I've said this in the podcast, but the difference from when you go to a Nicaraguan factory, it's like very heads down and systematic. You go into a DR factory and it's like music
blaring, and yeah, you can tell they're having a good time.
It's that same feeling you get when you walk into a New Orleans Cigar Factory. And so anyway, we're thrilled to be shipping this. I believe we're sending in a Corona Gorda. I have the Robusto here, but the Corona Gorda, great. The wrapper shines a little more. And then we found something out about New Orleans Cigar Factory, Pew, about where they source their tobacco from that I just absolutely loved, and it made so much sense.
Yeah, it clicked. That was really cool.
They make a lot of their cigars that aren't made in New Orleans, because they don't make every single one there, because they have larger production needs than just what their smaller factory can produce. They make a lot of Noxa, which you guys have heard us talk about them with FQ and Patina. But Noxa is owned by a family that is really known for their tobacco, the Oliva Tobacco Company, not to be confused with Oliva Cigars, which is a different company.
I still made that mistake.
I know. Oliva Tobacco. They're specialists in growing and fermenting tobacco. And so all the tobacco that they use in all of their cigars, whether they're made in New Orleans or in Nicaragua, comes from those farms. So anyway, we're super pumped to have these in the boxes. If you guys get these, light them up, make it like your first one, and listen to this and hear the stories and do some research on them. You're going to see a lot more from them.
And I'm going to talk out of my ass on this one here, but to me,
do it.
I think, having no knowledge of this, to me, I think it may be more difficult to blend a good Connecticut. So many Connectics are forgettable, one note, just bland and boring. And I think it takes, at least where I sit, a really good craftsman to be able to put something into a Connecticut, still have that Connecticut mild to medium, but really bring that flavor forward, transitions, and make it something that's memorable. And that's what stood out to me about that smoke. I love it with black coffee or a latte, and not I like just milk and espresso in my lattes, or oat milk, pick your milk, whatever it is. That's what I love with that cigar. Like, just cream, some form of cream and espresso. Don't overly sugar it. You can drink it how you like, first off, but that's how I like it. And I think it really complements that cigar well, and really rounds it out.
That's a great point too. I'm in a big oat milk kick right now.
Love oat milk lattes.
And I finally found the barista oat milk, not just the normal oat milk, the one that's a little thicker that you can steam.
You can steam and yep.
And the one I'm a coffee geek, but I'm all about Starbucks sometimes. And their new oat milk double espresso, shaken espresso, iced beverage, whatever, is so rich and creamy and like thick. I love it. That would be insane with the cigar. Even without the brown sugar sweetener stuff in there, just that heavy, creamy palate kind of feel with this. Oh, I'm going to be trying that next.
Yeah. For anyone who hasn't had oat milk, or, if you drink lattes and you haven't had oat milk,
craps almond milk.
Absolutely. And if you're doing it at home, definitely get a barista style, so it's thicker, especially if you're frothing it or whipping it up. To me, it makes it almost turns into like, I've added some brown sugar cinnamon to the latte with oat milk, and it turns into like an oatmeal cookie or oatmeal raisin cookie. And I
do brown sugar and cinnamon.
Yep. That's my go-to drink. If I want, I'll do like sugar-free, because I don't like drinking that heavily full flavored sugar, overly sweet, but it's incredible.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah. Anyway, if you guys haven't had this and it's in your box, give it a shot. Let us know what you think. You'll see a lot more from them. I'm hoping at some point we can work on a project in New Orleans with them. That would just be really cool, full circle too for you, Pew.
Yeah.
From having that experience there. But Shauna and her whole team, awesome people, great cigars.
Yeah, so welcoming, and really when we were there, just gave us like it was our place almost. I mean, granted, we weren't sitting down and blending or anything like that, but just gave us the whole tour, and really welcomed us with open arms, and that was a great experience. And shout out to Shauna.
They really did. We came and bombarded them to shoot our Fridays at 4 and brought the whole crew, like 8 or 9 people packed back there. And
rolled
they just
up
were like, whatever you guys want to do, go for it. So anyway, good stuff. All right. Cigars coming up. April. Your boxes are about to ship. Like we said, this is going to be in a lot of your boxes. But a couple other ones. And Pew, I think did you smoke the Bocock on a podcast? Or was it? You smoked it before, and I think we touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, that's what it was.
But they're finally in the box.
They're finally in the box. I think it was like the first cigar that you gave me, like, here, we're thinking about these coming up. Let me know what you think. And smoked the Bocock Habano, which is going to be in some of the boxes this month. And incredible. Like, literally, not only was it the first cigar that I smoked to get an idea on, which was in and of itself having a little special place in my my mind, but the cigar itself is phenomenal. Just great smoke all around. Have you smoked the Habano yet? I know. Yep. I think you've smoked the Maduro, you told me, but I don't know if you've smoked the Habano. I
smoked the Habano, and then I smoked the Maduro. And I believe you did the opposite, but I really enjoyed the Habano. It's got this kind of raisiny sweetness to it, with a little bit of spice. Construction was great on mine. Yep. I know you're going to talk a little more into the geeky info on it. I just wanted to say that, one, that's pretty sweet that was like your first work cigar. Your first on assignment cigar. So that's probably going to hold a special place in your humidor for a long time.
I know I sat down and I smoked the Habano, and then I went to Maduro, which no, I think I did the Maduro then. I don't know. I did Maduro then Habano. I
remember I did it opposite of you.
Yep, that's what it was. And even following the Maduro, like literally put the Maduro down, lit up the Habano, did a little back and forth on it, but held up its own. Usually you would think it's going to get muted, it's going to get lost in that oily Maduro wrapper.
Yes.
Nope. I mean, every flavor came through clean on its own. And we'll get a little nerdy on this, but really excited to see what everyone thinks. Be looking forward to reading people's reviews and seeing them smoke the Habano.
Yeah, and we're really excited to help launch this brand into the world. It's going to hit so many hands of people that have never heard of Bocock because they're new. It's two brothers from Honduras that are now in Texas, but they've been working on this project for a long time and finally got their first 3 cigars ready to a point where they can launch them. And for us, I don't know, that's part of the charm, I think, of Cigar Club from where I look at it, even outside of how you, our Cigar Club family, will interact with the cigars. When we get to find a brand that we think is making incredible cigars, really cool people, and support them and help, order lots of cigars and share them with people who have never heard of them. It's what it's all about.
It is. I mean, it's the experience that there's nothing that I love more than going into my local brick and mortar and just, hey, have you heard of this cigar? Like, I always take cigars with me to give away. Like, even before getting into the business, it would just be something I would do. And now I get to do that on a little bit larger scale. Right. And it's incredible.
Yeah. So definitely, if you get that in your box, make sure you rate those. As you guys have seen, and I do want to make a note, this is probably one of the last few days you'll be able to go online to Cigars and Leisure and vote for your number 1 cigar of the year. That's our top 20. That's powered by Cigar Club. We're doing with the team at Cigars and Leisure. We want to be doing those every single year and bringing new brands into those every single year. But those only happen if you guys rate and review the cigars that you get. So that's just a nudge to, especially when you see a new brand you've never heard of, it helps them. When you rate and review those cigars, helps keep them in the boxes. It helps add them to top 20 lists. And then if you really, really love it, be like Pew and bring them to your local brick and mortar and say, hey, you guys need Bocock in this humidor ASAP, and let them know the Cigar Club family sent them in. And it's a win-win for everybody.
Well, I'm gonna do a little deep dive on this one. So if you're listening to this, if you've got one, light it up. But Habano wrapper. First off, the origin is Honduran, but we've got a Habano wrapper, Sumatran binder, and then the filler is Honduran and Nicaraguan. And I don't know, Dave, do you do a cold draw every time you smoke a cigar? Like, even if it's a cigar that you go to every time?
Yeah, I always do at least one. I don't always really sit and think about it, but I always, every time I do it. Yeah.
So cold draw, to me, it's the first impression that you have other than the actual look of the cigar. So if you have a cigar that's just doesn't look right, you're probably going to go into it kind of concerned about it. But yeah, so I'll cut it and I'll do a cold draw every time. And for some cigars, I'll sit there and cold draw for 5 minutes because I don't want that to go away. And then it gives you an idea of the draw too. So you get a cigar that you take that initial cold draw and it's a really tight draw. Maybe you'll look for a draw tool or look to loosen it up a little bit in your hands. But yeah, cold draw, floral and citrus. I love the citrus notes. That's why I smoke a Habano. Like, if I'm going to pick up a Habano, I want there to be citrus notes throughout. So getting that on the cold draw was really exciting for me.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was going to say the citrus on that cigar, I kept getting more of, and maybe this isn't technically a citrus, but that almost a raisin dried grape fig. Maybe it's more like a green grape, so it's a little brighter, but that was something that was reoccurring to me throughout it. But I just think it's unique that you talk about citrus and Habanos, not something I always attribute to a Habano. But now that I'm thinking about my go-to Habanos, there is always that fruit or kind of citrus or peel or like a rind, like an orange rind or something like that. That's attributed to them.
But yeah, so initial, light it up into it. I get leather and floral right off the bat. And then first thing I notice after that is I personally enjoy good smoke. And I think I've talked about this before, but if you have a cigar that's just wispy smoke and it's not there, to me, it detracts from the experience. I like seeing the smoke. I like knowing that the cigar is burning properly. Not always an indication that the cigar is burning properly. I mean, you could certainly have a cigar that you smoke the whole thing and it's just wispy smoke throughout, but no burn issues. But something I look for is just that added little visual element, experience element.
Yeah, absolutely. That to me, it makes such a difference when you get a big, thick palette of smoke that you can let sit on your tongue and you let it out and you get to, it just adds to the smoking experience. Totally.
Yep. But yeah, just moving through it, starts to get a little bit spicier as you move into the second half, into the final third. I didn't get the full front citrus that I get with the patina Habano, but it's there in the background. It kind of sneaks up and kind of goes back down. So it plays nicely throughout the entirety of the smoke. But we're talking earthy. We're talking leather notes. There's nuts in it. Literally in my notes here that I have on it, no dominant profile, which is perfectly fine. I love having things just kind of peak up, and then you're like, ooh, there's that citrus, and you go back to it, and then there's something else. And then later on in the smoke, you get more of that citrus, and it just kind of keeps you searching and coming back for it every time.
Yeah, because citrus is never like a baseline note that's always there. It's really almost like it's sprinkled in, which is, I think, what makes it so exciting when you get that note,
just
because
it pops in
maybe it's one puff you get it, maybe you get it on back to back, and then it's gone.
But I got to the over halfway, not almost to the final third, but over halfway, and gorgeous ash. I smoked the Robusto. I believe we have the Toros coming in everyone's boxes, but for Robusto to smoke over halfway without the ash dropping off, I think speaks to the quality that they're putting out. Even though it's their first, 3 cigars in their line, they're already putting out quality, and I think that's something you don't see too often. I know we've talked about that before, as far as looking for that construction, and then clean palate as well. So going from the Maduro to the Habano, same thing with the Maduro. The Maduro was just, I literally smoked a Habano right afterwards, and there was no lingering effect moving into a different cigar, and same thing with the Habano, and I think that's admirable.
Yeah, absolutely. The one other thing, which I have some here, I have them saved for you as well. I have like a Pew stash that I just keep, and then every time we'll meet up, or eventually I'll just have to ship them. Bocock sent me, they updated their Maduro slightly, adding more Ligero to the filler. So I got to send you some of those. And then they sent me some new Lanceros that they're working on with the Habano wrapper.
Ooh.
Based off the Habano blend.
Okay.
That there's talk about it potentially being something for Cigar Club. It is a beautiful cigar. It is ultra citrusy, light, floral, a little bit of that like nutmeggy, cocoa powdery sweetness, but not overpowering. And the construction was great. The roll on it is stunning. So anyway, I'm excited as they continue to release cigars to be able to be a part of that, which is what's so cool with being at launch with a brand like them, is becoming a partner that can assist with new blends and helping them, like talking through updates that they make to them and giving feedback, letting them know what our Cigar Club family thinks of them. And then, of course, making some cigars just for the club is always a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And that's kind of cool too. Like another thing, like we look at these ratings, and in this case, we may be even using these ratings and your thoughts on the cigar to help shape. Yeah. I mean, how cool is that?
I can't say how many times I get an email from a brand after it's their first time, or maybe they got some new production of a certain line in, and they're like, "Hey, can you send me just a like screenshot of the overall feedback of our cigars, or can you send me 15 or 20 reviews on our cigar?" They ask for these things. And Omar DeFrias from Fratello is one of those brands all the time. Every time we put a cigar in the box, I get an email from him at the end of that month. Dave, what did people think? Was it consistent? Did it deliver on flavor? Did it deliver on construction? And that stuff you guys don't see happening behind the scenes, but man, I don't know. It's awesome that these brands care about what we all think. And you guys are part of that.
I mean, it's a direct line to, I know with social media and the way things are in the cigar world now, we're closer than ever to these master blenders and figureheads of the brands. And it just shows just how much they love hearing feedback. And even if it's not always positive, right? Like, I think there's something that feedback is a gift. It's one of the things that I have been kind of learned over the years and really appreciated.
Yeah.
And if you're just getting positive feedback, it's great, but is it always genuine? Like, nothing's perfect. So there's always going to be things that can be worked on and tweaked. And so we love, and I'm sure obviously the brands do as well, like getting some of that positive and also mix of negative feedback as well to really make sure that the product they're putting out is what the consumers want.
Yeah. And that reminds me, Pew, of when we were in Mobile last month, and we went to, there's a cigar lounge there that I always go to every time I'm in Mobile, which is where our headquarters are. And it was Pew's, the first time I was there when Pew was there, and I'm like, we got to go over to Havana Phil's or Havana Ray's Cigar Lounge. It's like one of my favorite shops, and a bunch of the guys that work there and a bunch of the guys that just go there. I've been going there since I started with Cigar Club, and they're either Cigar Club members or they subscribe to customs or they buy our exclusives. But they smoke. If we release something, somebody in that shop is smoking it.
Yep.
And we were sitting there, and a couple of the guys that come over, and we were just chatting, and they were asking about just new releases we had coming up, and we were smoking a bunch of our stuff. And one guy was like, I'm not going to say the name of the cigar, but he was like, hey, I didn't like this cigar that you guys put out. It tasted like X, Y, and Z. I wasn't a fan. And I was like, man, you're the first person. We've gotten like emails if people don't like stuff or DMs back and forth, or normally it's more like internally where we talk about if we're liking or not liking something. I'm like, but you're the first person that's like said you didn't like it and why. And it was all very valid feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, that is rare and highly appreciated, because to me, there's nothing worse than continuing to release cigars that people don't like, but refuse to say they don't like it when we could make adjustments and make things better. Granted, there's always going to be people who it doesn't hit their palate, and that's totally fine. And that was more of what happened on this case, but that's just great feedback to have. Releasing cigars is like stressful. Right.
Because what you like may not, no one else may like. Like, so there's that fear of like, I'm blending this. I love it, but is it going to translate to other people's palates as well? And yeah, it was fantastic feedback. And I think in the moment, I think you were already talking about tweaks that could be made to the cigar to really maybe hit on their palate or hit onto more people's palates.
Totally. Yeah. And anyway, that's a great point that you made, and it's super valuable in this industry to be able to share constructive feedback and adapt to it. Sometimes it's like, well, no, that's actually what we were going for. Yep. I'm super bummed you didn't like it, but we're not technically making cigars for every single person's going to like, because then, I mean, you can't make a cigar everybody likes, period.
No, not at all.
But anyway, that was great feedback to get. Any other thoughts on our friends at Bocock and the Habano?
No, I'm looking forward to, like I said, seeing what everyone thinks about it. I know I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was going to smoke one for the podcast today, but I smoked all the ones you gave me. Like, so it wasn't just a one-time smoke and it was great. Like, no, I smoked the other ones that I had. I think I had like 3 or 4 of them. So,
nice.
Yeah. And then I'll, a little bit later on, I'll circle back to the Habano after, I hear, some of your favorites coming up.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
Setting us up.
So I already touched on the one that I'm smoking now, which is coming in a lot of boxes this month, but one other one that's really special. It's special to Cigar Club. It's special to me. It's a brand that, like we were just talking about, how valuable it is to get feedback and really have people that you can send cigars to for feedback, especially when you're working on them. We've built a great relationship with Serino Cigars and specifically with Carson. And Pew, you've got a couple on Bandits of projects that are coming up with him that you've tried. And recently we've just formed that bond where I've been getting a lot of his, this is blend 6 and this is the iteration. What do you think about this? What don't you like about this one? This is why I'm not liking this one. And I've been able to be very slightly part of that process and see how that all happens with Serino, which is amazing because they make incredible cigars and they're just great people that we absolutely love working with and supporting that brand. They have a brand new cigar coming out. I believe, don't quote me because we might not be. I'm pretty certain we're going to be the first people shipping it out. It's not advertised that way, but just the way that the freight came in and how quickly we got them and that we're shipping this week. I think we'll be the first people to get it, but it's the brand new Serino Taino Heritage. Woo. You guys know we love Taino because we did an exclusive on it. Heritage is the Taino blend, but the Dominican expression of it. So instead of this one being made at the La Corona factory in Esteli, Nicaragua, with master blender Omar Gonzalez, which is where all the other Serino cigars come out of, this one was made in the Dominican at Tabacalera La Palma, which is Hochi Blanco, I believe. Yeah, Hochi Mochi. Yes, Hochi Blanco.
Yeah.
He and Carson, they were talking about. Carson was talking about wanting to do a Taino that's full Dominican. The wrapper is wrapper is an Ecuadorian Habano 2000, but then all the binder and filler is all Dominican. It's got Dominican Piloto, which we've been talking a lot about recently. Customs Volume 4, that we did the Purito tasting. We were smoking some Piloto Cubano. Cigar Club Customs Volume 1, Ocho has Dominican Piloto Cubano in it, and so does the cigar in the binder and the filler. And then it also has Dominican Criollo tobacco. So not Corojo. There's no Corojo in it. It's Criollo is the Cuban seed that they have in there, paired with the Ecuadorian Habano 2000 and some Piloto Cubano throughout. But this one seems that it's a little more ramped up. I actually thought I was going to have the box of them here. It's on a UPS truck somewhere.
Out for delivery somewhere.
Cincinnati. But they kind of amped up the blend a tad this one, which is kind of fitting with just the Dominican Republic as a whole, that lively, energetic flavor, if you will. But also the story on Taino, it originates with the Dominican people in the Caribbean. And so I think it's really cool how he brought it back full circle and is making the heritage blend here in the Dominican Republic. And the band is sick. It's this like really cool royal blue. The box is amazing. And the size, I absolutely love it. It's a 6x47 is the size that we're going to be shipping. It's their Corona Gorda. And I'm excited to hear the feedback. And I love that everybody just smoked the Taino with the original tobacco in our exclusive. And now not everybody's getting this one, unfortunately, but a lot of you are. And I'm hoping we have some extra where we can retail some 5-packs. If you guys don't get it, or if you do get it and you want more, you can always email us and get, we'll sell you some 5-packs or 10-packs or boxes if we have boxes left over. But yeah, pumped on this one. I'll probably be smoking it tomorrow if it finally lands.
You got an overnight
cool
to me.
I know. How cool to smoke. And I have like 2 Taino Corona Gordas in here somewhere. I got to find them. But to smoke the Nicaraguan version and then smoke the Dominican version, I think it'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I just smoked the 44, the Cigar Club exclusive Taino with the 44 last Tuesday on our Zoom lounge. I think it was last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Just recently. And I'm a huge Serino fanboy. I think after Warped, it was like my second brand that I really attached to and identified with. I smoked the Serino Connecticut for the first time. In the Serino line. Connecticut was the first one that I reached for, and I was just blown away. Smoked all of the line at the time. Wayfarer came out and bought a box. I've talked about this before. I've given away more of that box than I've actually smoked myself. And for some reason, I missed the Taino train, the original Taino train. I don't know what was going on in life, but I missed that. Sad to say, but I was glad that the 44 had the original tobacco that was used in it, so I could get that experience. It was a custom size, but it was still the experience of it. And excited that I just recently smoked it and it's still in my mind. And then to be able to smoke it next to the Dominican version of it. And I think it's really cool that, the Tainos are, Dominican culture, right? Dominican heritage. Makes sense with the name. Oh my goodness. I just put that together. Well, look at that. Let me
say something. Carson, he's a creative and he's a writer and a storyteller, and visually where he takes these blends and the journey he takes you on and the painting he paints, if you will, is one of the parts I love so much about Serino. And there's few people that I think capture, in my opinion, incredible design and story with cigars. And Serino is in that top 3 brands for me that captures that takes you on this journey. And by the time you're smoking the cigar, you're so amped on everything else leading up to that moment that the cigar is like the icing on the cake, because the people who made it, the story of why it's named that, you can like see the guy in the kitchen, like concocting this incredible cigar, and Carson like working on it and traveling. And anyway, big fan. And the cigars they're putting out are amazing. I can't wait to smoke Heritage with the rest of our Cigar Club family who gets that cigar. It's pretty special.
Yeah, I agree. And it's one, I remember Carson, an interview that I read or watched, talking about this, like in the inception of doing a Dominican version of the Taino a few years ago. And so to see the idea then, and maybe it was already in production, he was working on it, but the idea to now actually being released and us being one of the first people that would be able to get it in other people's hands is really cool, and just I'm excited for it.
Also, quick interruption here. Smoking the Social Club from New Orleans Cigar Factory. Halfway point, major flavor change.
Oh, what we at?
Cinnamon, baby. It's here.
That's it.
This cigar is like the reverse Algo Sincero. It's like cinnamony, peppery, and halfway point, and was super creamy in the front. Whereas Algo Sincero is pepper, cinnamon, front loaded, and then boom, half and half cream for the rest of the cigar. This is like a reverse version of it, and it is absolutely awesome.
And there's the reason why I said the latte, right? Like oat milk with that cinnamon coming through, it's magical.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. And it's only ashed one time, and it was like a solid almost 1.5 2 inches before that happened. Anyway, great cigar. And so is the Serino Taino Heritage. We're pumped for it. Those are the kind of my two focus cigars that I really wanted to talk about on the cast today. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to discuss what Pew was just talking about with the Habano that I have no idea about, and then new stuff we're working on and places we're going. We'll be right back on the Cigar Club podcast. And we're back. It's been about 7 hours our time. No, I'm just kidding. We're back. Welcome back to the Cigar Club podcast. Another beautiful episode. 2 Daves, 2 Palates. Pew, what do you got for me?
I have a question for you, Dave.
Okay.
I want to know what's in the pipeline. What is coming up? We've been smoking a lot of blends lately, talking a lot of blends as we alluded to earlier.
Yep.
And I think we need to pull the curtain back just a little bit. What's coming up? What have we been working on? What can we talk about?
Man, we can talk about a lot of things, which is exciting. We've been working on a lot of things, projects, cigars specifically. A lot of times I think people think we're crazy because of the amount of cigars we're working on to put out. But to me,
Slightly.
It's like, I don't know. It's what it's all about. Okay, first one, because I just got this print in the mail, or not in the mail. I went and picked it up from the printer today. Cigar Club Customs Macasso, which at this point is probably shipping in the next week. We've got the full blend breakdown, but we're adding something really cool. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see this. If you're listening on a podcast, you're going to have to use your imagination. We're doing these limited edition prints on every single insider on the back of the fold out, which is, and you guys know the newspaper that the cigars come in has a print on it, but now we're going to do prints specific to each release. So this is the print for Macasso, which is photos of blending Macasso and being at the factory working on it. I didn't go to Tabsa to work on this one, but I worked on it at their Miami factory and their big warehouse that Aganorsa has in there. So there's photos in the Pilone room going through like different Corojo and Criollo 98 seed varietals and primings, not seed varietals, primings. And then literally there's like the iPhone pic on my front porch when I was down to the last 2 blends for Macasso when we were deciding which one it was. So anyway, you guys are going to start to see these. If you feel inclined, I don't know, frame them, collect them, throw them away, whatever the hell you want to do with it. But that's really exciting. This one, Ocho is always going to be amazing to me because it's made in Miami, and that was like one of the most hands-on blends I've ever done in my life. Macasso takes on a different meaning because Aganorsa tobacco is what made me a cigar smoker, what made me fall in love with this industry, and what ultimately led me to this spot right here. And the whole story of Macasso is this, and we'll probably talk on it a little deeper when we have the cigar and we can do a podcast on it. But this idea of art in cigars and art in flavor as it relates to also art visually with 2 of my favorite artists, which is Matisse and Picasso, which is how we got this name. And so when I was like, I want to do a cigar inspired by these 2 artists that to me changed the world, what better way to do that in a cigar than through tobacco that changed in my world it changed the world of cigars for me. So that's where this blend is birthed out of. You don't even need to guess tasting notes because you already know what they are. And that cinnamon is the predominant tasting note in this one.
No.
When I smoked the first sample, which we've altered it since, it's not as crazy. When I smoked the first sample, I ran inside to my wife and I was laughing. And I'm like, oh my God, if we were into gimmicky names, I would just name the Cinnamon Toast Crunch and release it tomorrow. Because there were no transitions from first puff until there was maybe a quarter inch left. I mean, I smoked the sucker as low as I've any smoked a cigar. It tasted like Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal, a little spicier. The entire time I was in my own heaven. But then I was also like, we probably should get some balance in this
Something
joint.
a little bit in there.
So we changed it a little bit. It's a little more elegant now, complex, balanced, and 5 1/4 by 52, 109 cap, closed foot. It's a beautiful looking cigar. Can't wait to share that one with everybody. So that's the customs coming up.
Hell, I can't wait to smoke it. I haven't even seen the cigar.
I haven't smoked it in like 2 months because I ran out of samples. We put this one in production back in November. And so I've just been sitting here like tapping my foot. But that one is going to be really exciting. So for all of you that are customs members, you got a special treat coming your way very, very soon. In addition to that, this one I'm really excited to talk about, Pew, because we both recently smoked it and we've got some cool notes on it. And I really just want to take 2 minutes, 3 minutes to talk about the profile of this. But it's our brand new exclusive that we're doing with Principal Cigars and our good friend Darren Kofi. One of the first Connecticut's that I fell in love with was the Accomplice Connecticut from Principal in Robusto. It's
the
incredible.
white band, right?
It is the royal blue band.
Yes, the blue.
And it is creamy and rich and dense and sweet and a little tangy, a little spicy. And it's made at the KBF factory. And we all know Kellner Boutique make banger sticks, and the tobacco they have access to is next level. So talking with Darren, and I was like, we've got to bring this in for the club. Can we do it in like I don't want to like change the game with the size, but I want to do something really cool with it. And he had this idea he has access through KBF to use this 10-year Dominican Catui binder. And I believe on the standard one, it's a 5-year. And so the wrapper is also a 5-year Ecuadorian Connecticut. But we're using this 10-year Dominican Catui binder. It's a 4 7/8 by 50, a short Churchill, which I love that size, with the sexiest pigtail cap you've ever seen in your life.
Yep. It's almost like a fan cap. Like it's in its own category. It's this hybrid. Yeah.
When you take it out of the cello, you have to be very careful because I've taken one out of the cello and pulled the cap off.
Yeah.
Because of just how large it is. So anyway, he sent me these samples. I was like, yes, these are amazing. And they're coming in May. And we got them in these cool like craft paper 5-packs. The cigars are killer. And some of you guys will have the chance to smoke them in your boxes. But anyway, Pew and I smoked them last week. And we were on a call just like talking about it. And so I just want to break down the cigar quickly. But Pew, what were your initial thoughts with it? It was your first time smoking it.
It was. I need to know, though. I don't know. I think this is the first time. Maybe I've heard it before, but can you give us a little bit more information on Catui and kind of what that is? I'm putting you on the spot here, so
you're putting me on the big spot.
You're ready for it.
Because I'm going to be straight up honest, I don't know all the ins and outs of Catui. I know it's a Dominican seed varietal. I know it comes from like a Davidoff strain or some Davidoff relative, and one of their they have a lot of experimental farms through Tobacco University. That I believe Monica spearheads, who's in the Kellner family. And Catui is not, I don't believe it's a Dominican seed varietal like Corojo or Criollo, but think about it as just another variety. So you have Corojo, you have Criollo, you have Piloto Cubano, you have Catui. That is where my knowledge with Catui stops.
Gotcha.
But 10-year plus a new varietal, and I was like, I'm in. It tastes great. Let's do it.
Yeah, I love the experimental tobacco. Like I'm a huge Davidoff fan, and I enjoy whenever I get a Davidoff that has this just completely off the wall labeled binder and filler that I've never heard of before and probably will never smoke again outside of of that's particular Davidoff cigar. But yeah, tasting notes that I wrote down for it, not to give away everything, but white pepper on the to start. It wasn't. If you've never had white pepper, it's much more mild than like black pepper, and so it's there. It's fleeting, not fleeting, but it's not as strong as black pepper is going to be. Walnuts. It took me a while. Dave and I were talking about this one, trying to figure out what nut we were both smoking, and it's almost like a walnut, cashewy type of a nut, and I think we settled on it being walnut, or we agreed that it was walnut.
Yeah, that's what I have too.
Fleeting cinnamon on the retrohale, and then as I moved halfway into it, it was just creamy and cinnamony goodness, and I literally wrote down like, not to beat a dead horse, but a latte. Like, it's crazy how I keep coming back to lattes, but it just, the fat of the milk just pairs really well with cigars and helps balance out the flavors that you can get coming out of a cigar, and it refreshes, leaves that fatty slickness on the tongue that helps refresh your palate, and then allows you to pick out more nuanced flavors in a cigar.
Yeah, that I love that those are your notes, because the only one we really collaborated on was walnut. But I'll just read my like top 6 notes in order of how I got them, which is how you just spelled them out, and they're like pretty freaking close.
That's awesome.
But walnut is what we landed on. Totally agree. Then I got this like smoky cinnamon, like almost like think like peated Scotch, campfirey, but not overpowering. It was just slightly there in the first third. Then the transition to the cream right into the second third, there was this leather, like literally to me a sweet, almost. I don't know how to say this without it sounding gross, but like chewing a brand new leather couch, like
no, absolutely.
Like if you took a bite out of that, like that leather taste, it morphed into and then went to this heavy cream. Then it got more of a clean cinnamon, and to me, the finish throughout the last third was just cocoa powder, sweet, but not like chocolate milk or a chocolate bar. It was like powdery almost. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to really explain that, but cream
like
cinnamon
a Hershey's
and powder
cocoa that you used to bake with, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That is that's what kind of rounded it out for me. But great cigar. It's another testament to me. It's like I said earlier, we have so many things in the pipeline. We just talked about 2 of them, but there's probably 8 cigars in the pipeline. And it's just because these brands they're going the extra mile. They want to release cigars to the Cigar Club family. They want to work with us. And that is what's so cool to me. Like that Darren can be like, Dave, what if I got this 10-year Katui? I can only make a small amount of cigars. Do you want to do like an exclusive with it? I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it.
That's incredible.
Let's make it happen. And that to me is what's so exciting. Top quick rapid fire of some other really cool stuff. Samples come in this week for the brand new Pinkies Out. I'm not going to release everything about it. The name is going to be awesome. It's a new size. Some new treatments. We're doing a really cool closed foot, a fan tail, and doing a minor tweak on the blend. But those samples come in this week. We're putting the Guardian of the Farm Ranger Aganorsa exclusive into production next month, officially. 5.5 by 48. Dominating cigar. Just
that one
absolutely
fantastic.
Beautiful. As it's opened up, I've got one left, but when we first smoked it, it's strong. Like that, it is full flavored.
It is Aganorsa in a cigar.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And then of course we're working on some really cool exclusives with Fratello, and we're just kind of in that back and forth. Can we try something here? Ooh, really liking this. We're hoping to release something with a Connecticut broadleaf out of La Aurora shortly as well. But those are some really cool projects we got coming up. Of course, customs are always in the works. And I don't know. It's surreal that we get a chance to blend and make all of these really cool cigars alongside of the actual masterminds, of course. But in addition to that, what I'm excited about is something, Pew, that you're spearheading and leading the triumphant charge on, which is pairings for everyone, for everything that we put in a box ever. That's a daunting task.
It is. It's something that I wanted to do earlier, but it was just too daunting of a task. So I'm glad that we were able to kind of get that launched and engaged with everyone to really offer a little bit more for the experience.
Yeah.
I'm calling it suggested pairings rather than any type of like feature or anything official. Because it is, hey, if you're not sure what will go with a cigar, especially if you've never smoked it, I know for me, that's always the biggest hurdle is I've got this cigar. I've never smoked it before, so I don't know what to expect with it. What do I pair it with?
Yep.
Like what's going to go? I don't want to ruin the cigar and dominate it with a pairing, but I also don't want to underwhelm it. And so I'm just doing something a little fun and really engaging people who maybe are wine drinkers or gin drinkers or tequila drinkers and getting their thoughts on it. And then seeing, what we can suggest that we think will go well with the cigar, or what we know goes well with it. So to go back to the Bocock Habano, one of the first cigars, just to show you how long I've had this in the works. One of the first cigars that I had as a quote unquote assignment, smoked it. And then I'm just writing down, like, as I smoke it, what I think will go well with it. And not every idea is going to necessarily make it, because I don't want to overwhelm people with options. And I'm kind of taking the approach of leaving it open, not going anything too specific with a brand or a, this needs to be Eagle Rare, or this needs to be insert certain brand here, but saying, hey, this will be a good wheated bourbon or a good black coffee or a latte, whatever I think will go well that most people would be able to find.
Or an IPA or a lager.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So, hey, I know you drink a lot of light beers. Like, what's a light beer that you think, or do you think a light beer would go well with this cigar or this, tequila, whatever it may be? But for the Habano, I'm going to list everything that I wrote, but not necessarily going to be what makes it all. But as I'm smoking it, I'm like, ooh, an oak Chardonnay would go really well with it. Kind of play off the earthy, or balance the earthy notes. With an oak Chardonnay, you're going to get more of those wood flavors, and then you'll get that crisped finish to it. So I thought that would go really well with it. I didn't actually pair it with it, but just knowing some of the oak Chardonnays that I've drank before, I thought that would be phenomenal. Going to kind of match the floral citrusy notes, a Pinot Grigio would be, to me, that is the ultimate pairing for that cigar. So if you're a wine drinker and you got a bottle of Pinot Grigio, pour it, because it's going to blow that cigar to the next level.
Wow. I could totally see that. I think guiding people on this path of exploration, but even if, let's say you don't even drink alcohol, but you see like a wheated bourbon, or you see maybe like a cream ale, something like a sweeter beer, like there's cream soda, there's root beer, there's like you can go that route. You could do like a rooibos, I can never say that, rooibos tea could be great in that as well, or a coffee with heavy cream. Like there's so many different ways you can take that. But I think what you're doing with giving people the benchmark and the overall genre of where you should kind of be is going to just make that experience so, that much better.
And not every, as you hit on, not every suggested pairing is going to be alcoholic. Now, do I lean a little bit towards the alcoholic?
That's only because you want to drink on the job, Pew. That's why you.
You've caught me.
Well, this is research, so
yeah, this is. But then the last two. So I really went all out and covered all the bases on this one, except for non-alcoholic or beer. But single malt Highland Scotch would go beautifully.
Oh.
Highland Scotches tend not to be as peaty. So you're going to get more playing off those citrus and floral notes. They'll go really well with that. And then a higher rye bourbon. Once again, just to hit on the spice that I was getting throughout the cigar. And I think that'll... what I look to do is find a note that I want more of, and then look to see how I can bring it out in other ways. And so the higher rye bourbon, I think, will go really well. You'll have the sweeter, subtle undertones of caramel, probably a little bit of the woodness, but then you'll get that rye spice that I think will pull out more of the spice in the cigar.
Yeah, I could see all of those. I really want to do the Pinot Grigio pairing with that cigar. That'll be the first one I start with.
It'll be fantastic.
Man, the Palate Prince speaks, ladies and gentlemen. He speaks, and we all listen in awe. Speaking of Palate Prince and pairings, how is the wheated bourbon with the MDT?
It's pretty good. It's a little windy out, so I'm gonna have to put the MDT down.
Oh no,
Unfortunately,
that hurts.
It just keeps blowing it out and
That
getting
hurts.
distracted. But the toasted barrel, I wouldn't say it's doing anything amazing.
Okay.
It's not overpowering the cigar. It's refreshing my palate. But it's not a bad pairing, but it's not doing anything for it. I think maybe the cigar is muting the toasted barrel a little bit. But overall, not bad. And I think that's okay. Like, not everything's going to be a perfect pairing, and you're not always going to pour something. As long as you enjoy it, that's all that ultimately all that matters.
It's almost like a palate check too. Like, okay, maybe I do kind of know what I like and don't like, and what is actually, if everything's good, then you're kind of like, maybe I just have, maybe I suck at tasting things. But if you hit the ones where you're like, that's not good, or that's just okay, I think it helps refine your palate. It helps give you some confidence to like, okay, I do know when something is actually really good. And that's exciting when you hit the one that's like, holy crap, this is amazing. It makes it that much better.
And I know, like, hey, toasted barrel may just be a really good neutral spirit to not overpower, not underpower, not change the profile of a cigar.
Right.
So, and I think usually I'll go for water for a spirit like that, or a pairing like that. And there's certainly cigars that I'm going to recommend. You should just drink water with this. Enjoy the cigar for everything that it has to offer.
Yes.
Clean your palate, refresh your palate with water, or I go for sparkling water a lot, or as I'll call it, spicy water. And so usually for me, it's going to be non-alcoholic, carbonated, sparkling water, but regular, bottled water, filtered water holds its own. And usually what I go to first when smoking a new cigar is water, so I can get kind of a baseline, and then from there I'll start to match things up.
Yeah, and I'm so pumped that you're working on all these pairings too. And for me, I feel like I don't spend that much time with pairings. Maybe I should spend more time with pairings, but also
you should help me out a little bit here.
I know, but also it's like if it's like a customs that I'm working on, or we're working on an exclusive, I only do them with water. Like, that's it. And I spend so much time now in that space smoking those blends. Whereas now you start to spend a lot of time in like the cigars that we're putting in and matching them up with people's palates and working on the pairings. That's a natural flow as well, because those cigars are validated. They're great cigars. That's why they're in full production and all over the country. So anyway, we'll do some, like, I don't know, we'll do some trade-offs too, and get you on a lot more of the blend sampling as well with your spicy water. And then I'll pick up some bottles or do some more pairings than I have been recently. I'm excited to follow along when I get like my monthly box from Cigar Club and like do the suggested pairings with those cigars. I think that's going to be a really fun way to engage in our boxes and be like, okay, cool. What did Pew land on for this one? And then every once in a while, when I do sit down with one, I'll send them to you and you can taste them and see if they pass the palate prints test.
The palate prints test.
And make it to print or not.
Yeah, and I'm excited for people that are following along and are trying the suggested pairings, rate your cigar. Let me know if you actually did it.
Yes.
You can tell us what you were. Yep, there's a spot for it. And then in the comment section, write up, hey, I tried the feature pairing or the suggested pairing. It was awful. It hit everything that I thought it would. We've talked about it before. We read those, and that'll help me going forward. Like, if everyone's like, oh, we don't drink wine and smoke cigars, cool. Maybe I don't put as many wine pairings, or we don't put it as many gin or whatever spirit or neutral spirit. But you've got a pairing.
I know.
I think you need to talk about.
I'm excited to talk about this one. I know we're hitting the hour mark, but I can keep it fairly short. You guys are having a good time though, right? Like, I feel like we've gotten good feedback even when we go to like an hour 10.
And we had a 7-hour break in there.
You can stop listening whenever you want, but don't.
Please don't.
We released a video on this pairing with the one, the only Content Cody, and he introduced me to this specific cocktail that I'll explain in a second how it the like stars aligned with our featured cigar for this month. What happened was our featured cigar this month is the Fratello Boxer, the classic. Sorry, not the Boxer. Our featured cigar this month is the Fratello Classico Robusto.
Yep.
And I always get those confused. And I spoke about this a couple podcasts back when I smoked that cigar in a different size, but the same blend in the Dominican. It was over dinner with Omar de Frias, and what I was eating was like a coconut rice pilaf risotto situation, but it was like that sweet coconut flavor profile that to me was working beautifully well with the cigar. It was like the cinnamon Nicaraguan spicy sweetness with the coconut cream risotto, and I was like, this is heaven. And then Cody's like, hey, comes in the office one day with this bottle of spiced rum from a local distillery here called Second Sight.
Working.
And yes, yeah, working. and I also have a deep love of cream soda. And he's like, hey, you've got to try this soda cocktail. It's cream soda from this place called it's Boylan cream soda, very specific, but you can use any, though I recommend Boylan, with the spiced rum, an orange slice, and Angostura bitters. And I'm like, yeah, sign me up all day. And then I was like, wait a minute, that like cream soda-y profile spiced rum is really close to like a coconut situation, right? It's like the same area, they're cousins. And I'm like, I think this is going to be like a banger with the featured stick this month. So we go outside. The video is up on YouTube now if you want to watch it. And the pairing worked amazingly. I'm not a big fan of like rum and cokes or Jack and ginger, or as soon as you add soda to me, it gets a little weird, but it freaking worked in this. And I'm so excited about it. So if you guys, when you get your boxes this month, I think everybody's getting the Fratello Classico. It's our featured cigar this month, and the pairing is in your insider booklet. Try and find a lighter spiced rum and a cream soda that you can try out this cocktail with and smoke it or drink it alongside of the Fratello. I think you're going to be blown away.
I'm going to go out and do it. I've got a local distillery here that does spiced rum, so I'm going to pick up a bottle of that, find some cream soda. I don't really ever drink spiced rum. Too much spiced rum as a college kid. Captain Morgan. Definitely.
Or Sailor Jerry's, baby.
Sailor Jerry. It was Captain for me. There's a lot of photos of me doing the Captain pose. I
need to find those.
Ooh, no, we don't. Anywho, so I'm going to pick some of that.
I'm calling Bailey.
Oh, Jesus. They're somewhere, I think. Oh, boy. Anyway, I'm going to pick up some bottle of that, and I'm going to find some cream soda. I don't really drink cream soda, but I'm excited for that. I looked for it in the humidor, and I thought I had one, but I don't have any of the Classico. So I'm going to have to get me some of that and pair it. I'm curious to see. Like you said, if I'm mixing soda with a liquor, normally it's to, kick back and watch a football game or hang out with friends. Right. So I don't think I ever do a soda pairing with a cigar specifically, even in like a mixed drink. So, or especially in a mixed drink, but looking to pick some of that up and take me to Cincy and see how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we need to get you up to Cincy Pew at some point, and we can do all these things. And
I need you to write on the
massive goodie bag of cigars that's just literally sitting in the office.
David's bag, keep out, sign on it.
There. Oh, it's there. We just have an empty desk in the office that just has all your cigars on it. But yeah, I hope you enjoy that one. I think it's really good. And I'm excited for everybody to be able to try it.
Sounds great. And also, I didn't appreciate the shade thrown my way in that video. I sat down doing work. I was like, I'm going to put this video on, be nice background, music, entertainment. And like within the first 2 minutes of the video,
shots fired.
Shots were fired at producer Pew, the Palate Prince.
You guys will have to watch it, and
it was
decide.
The challenge was thrown my way. Maybe the Pinot Grigio pairing with the Habano Robusto will give me an even score.
That's a great point. Maybe that will be the next YouTube video pairing that we do. We'll whip that out, and then it will be decided if you can even the score.
I can't let Cody take my title.
You cannot let Cody take your title.
He'll never let me at the end of it either.
No, you're done for life if that's the case. the yeah, a lot of great pairings coming up, a lot of great cigar projects coming up, and then I got to close with some cool travel that we have coming up. And
where are you going?
One that I'm excited for is heading back to Miami. It's like, it's like clockwork every like 6 weeks, I feel. But going down, I was on the phone with Angelo Bello. You all obviously know Bello Cigars, where Ocho is made, and we shipped a lot of Bello in our boxes. They just got a bunch of new raw tobacco in. They're back to full steam ahead on their rollers. They were down to like a very small number of rollers. Everyone's back in the factory, and they're prepping a couple blends for us. And also, I'm just going to go through and be able to make some puritos with some of the new tobacco, burn some leaves for the fragrance and aroma, and talk about constructing some new cigars. I'd love to do an exclusive with Bello, more customs with Bello in 2022 for sure. And they've become, we talked about this week actually, Pew, is Bello's become like a home base for us at Cigar Club, where we can go and where I feel comfortable being able to go and just like make mistakes, but also freestyle. And nobody's like watching over my shoulder and like, no, Dave, you can do this, and here's blends that we've prepped for you that you get to smoke. Dave. If I'm like, I literally texted Angelo and I'm like, hey, can you prep because I wanted to have a couple blends prepped for when I get there, so I'm not smoking everything fresh. Can you prep a blend that's like 90% Viso, Nicaraguan from their specific Nicaraguan Viso that I had that's in Ocho, but I'm like, I want like 90% or more of the cigar, all this Viso. I'm like, I don't know if that works or if it burns right, but can we try it? And he's like, yeah, we'll make a couple of those and a couple other variations. So I'm really excited to smoke that one. I'll report back. It could be absolutely trash. It could also be amazing.
You've got to learn.
Psycho 7, like, am I dreaming this? Like, predominantly Viso?
No, it's all Nicaraguan Viso.
Okay. Boom. There's hope here.
Yeah. Like you said, the construction would be the biggest thing. Will it burn well throughout? And I can report, hell, we've talked about it before. That cigar burned like a champ. So it can work construction-wise, and I think the flavor-wise, it can be there, and it can also be more than just one note too. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and we'll play around with a different binder. Like on the Ocho, it's the Piloto, but also the Habano 2000 wrapper, which I love that they have. I think they have a new one in there as well. So play around with that. Get a handful of blends, send them to the Palate Prince, and we can smoke and talk about them and see what happens. That'll be on a future podcast once I'm back from Miami. And then, Pew, listen, one day, this is like my 2021 goal. Pew to Cinti and then Pew to Miami, so we can sit in Bello for a day and just be geeks and
that would be awesome.
And do what we want and make bad cigars and good cigars. Yeah. But I'm excited to go down there and just spend time at Bello, hanging out, making cigars, that whole thing. So that's the main piece there, is spending time with them. And then we got TPE in May too, which is really exciting. We'll have a lot more deets on that and tons of content hopefully coming from that show. TPE is one of the trade shows that happens every year in cigars. So we'll be able to go up there and hang out with some of the brands and see some new stuff coming out, shoot some micro podcasts and stuff like that. And we're working on doing a whole vlog so we can bring everyone behind the scenes on what it's like to attend one of those trade shows.
And TP is the first convention back in Vegas.
Yes.
That's the first one due to COVID. So that's cool as well.
My second one ever. So last year was the first time. And then this year, it was last year, but it was in January in 2020. So it was like my third month working at Cigar Club. And I'm like just laughing at how I went into there and like the questions I was asking. And anyway, it's just really funny. It's going to be a totally different experience now. And a lot of the brands that we've been able to support over the past year and a half, hopefully will all be there in attendance. And it should be a grand old time.
Yes, it will be. Man, how are we already at an hour and 9 minutes?
I really enjoyed today's show. It
was great. And
I'm
still here.
Good updates. A lot of cigars.
I haven't cut out randomly.
We haven't had technical difficulties. We introduced a mid-roll to give everybody a quick 10-second breather with some cool tunes.
Up in the game.
Yeah. The game's going to continue to get upped over the next couple months and weeks, and you hopefully continue to bring a high level of content to everybody. And I mean, you guys know the drill. People you want to see on the podcast, things you want us to cover, please let us know.
Yeah, in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, email us. Let us know. Reach out on Instagram, any social media, wherever. Let us know what you want to see, what you're liking, what you're not liking, and we're doing this for everyone to bring you behind the scenes, let you know what's going on, what we're enjoying. Just the behind the curtains for some things, just a place for us to geek out.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. Next week we'll have another podcast interview, and then from there, a lot of exciting, mysterious podcasts coming up. Be ready, people. But Pew, great to have you here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being the other Dave and 2 Daves, 2 pallets. The other Dave, the other pallet.
On this one, I think we were synced. I think it was we should just rename this one to 2 Daves, 1 Pallets, because we were
dialed. We were dialed today.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, we were.
No, it was a great time. So thank you all for listening. Make sure you download, like this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music. We're also now on Google Podcast Music situation. And then on YouTube, if you want to see us while we're doing this, leave a comment on this video. It means a lot to us when we get to hear your feedback. We will see you same time, same place next week, every Tuesday. New Cigar Club podcasts. Yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, Cigar Club family.
Thank you, guys. Happy smoking. Talk to you all soon.